Tuning you in now to the LBX Show with your host, Brandon Wiley. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the LBX Show for April 5th, 2026. I'm your host, Brandon Wiley, and we have a good show lined up for you today. We are going to first dive into some news you should know, and then we'll roll right into an open and shut with Kevin Williams to review all of the openings and closing trends from this last week. And then finally, Chuck DeMonte is back, and he's back here with promo pro tips. And we're discussing this week how entertainment brands can understand whether or not they are winning by reviewing the right metrics. So with that, without further ado, let's dive into some news you should know. All right. Well, I had an opportunity over this last weekend to go to San Diego and race at the San Diego Crew Classic. And that was a lot of fun. Had some good races, had some good results, but then went through Temecula, California on the way back to do some wine tasting, etc. And I was pleasantly surprised. First of all, the town was super quaint and amazing. And this is not my first time there. It was the second time back to visit. But this time I did come across this coin op arcade bar. And it was, it was closed during the day, but it was open up a little bit later in the day. So we went back to go check this thing out and, got there. It was probably like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And there was a good energy, good vibe going on. They had a great full bar, like really phenomenal full cocktail bar, good cocktail list, wine, beer on tap as well. A few small plates. You could even, I think, get a burger. I don't know, but we had already had dinner. So anyway, got a chance to have a couple of drinks and then just go around and check things out. I mean, it's a really simple arcade bar, but I thought it was like done really well. So they had lots of good branding, lots of good like little tchotchkes here and there. They had a good mix of like some retro arcade games, but also some cranes. But then you also had like your standard like skee ball and some basketball hoops, some pinball, but they also had some newer games also. So they had the Mario DX, and so had a lot of fun driving that and racing. And I lost, but that's okay. I think a couple of things that I thought were really good about this, and so you can see here. You've got the skee ball, you've got the hoops, and you've got Down the Clown. And, I think what was really interesting is that, first of all, this was an arcade bar, I think, done right. We talk about a lot of times on this show, especially with Open and Shut with Kevin Williams, that arcade bars, we see so many of them close when they have the type of model where it's a pay one fee and it's unlimited play, but everything is on free play. That was not this case. They had everything was cash. So you had to, if you didn't have cash, you had to like go and use an ATM or get cash from somebody at the bar. They would swap out cash or whatever. And then you'd go and you'd get change. Everything was literally coin op. It was all coins and it was all quarters too. So it wasn't tokens, which again was really good because if you leave and you didn't spend all your tokens for whatever, you just have money. You have quarters. You don't have to like re-exchange them back or anything. You don't feel like you lost out. And so you're willing to like drop more cash and turn it into quarters because you feel like you can still leave with that money. And everything was also priced very reasonably. I think the skee ball was 50 cents. The Mario DX was just $1. Like the things, I think the most expensive thing was $1. And so that you just saw people playing and plunking coins in and having a good repeat play in this particular case. There was no redemption. So it was all either merchandisers, again, just a few cranes. They had a duck crane as well. Or they just had, again, some of the games you've seen, or the pinball. Even the pinball was 50 cents for some of the pinball machines, but they also had, surprisingly, for this little arcade bar in Temecula, California, they had the new Pokemon that literally was just released at Amusement Expo just a couple of weeks ago. They had the new Pokemon sitting there right in the center. If you can't see it, I'll try to make this a little bigger. They've got it right there, and that was $1 per play. But it was a great gameplay. I didn't get a chance to play it at Amusement Expo, though I did see it. And so I really enjoyed that machine. And, you can just see some of the little designs and things that they have up and around everywhere. Again, just very, very well done arcade bar. And, I think what I liked was there was a good energy. There was good music. The lighting was kind of dim, but it wasn't like any cheesy lighting or cheesy feel. There were lots of tables. There were people eating food, people having drinks, people just sitting at the bar and hanging out. So I think it's one of the things too, is it was just a good bar. They had really good drinks. They had good quality alcohol. They had good quality cocktails alongside like a fun mix. And so that was frankly, we had a great time, tasting wine and everything else, but that was frankly one of the most enjoyable things of that whole day was popping into this random coin op bar. So I guess my point is things can be done really well and very simply at some level too, but with the right attention to detail and the right model. Bar first with a little bit of arcade. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it. It was bar and arcade, really, truly. It was a barcade, but they focused heavily on the quality of the bar alongside the arcade, and it was pure coin op, and it wasn't, anything that it was a business model that's just not going to be sustainable. That free play model we've just seen fail over and over and over, time and time again. And so, would this operate or survive in a larger city? I don't know, but because it was Temecula, smaller town, tourism coming through, etc., something fun to do in the evenings after the wineries are closed. Maybe that's why this thing survives and does well. It could be location, could be opportunity, but I do think it was also well run and well laid out. So that was the Coin Op Arcade Bar in Temecula. And if you ever get a chance to go through, I highly recommend popping in there. All right. So I'm going to talk about two award-winning locations today. We're not going to go too deep into them, but Star Lanes Polaris was recently named FEC of the Year by AAMA at the Amusement Expo. We didn't really talk about that during our guest gab because we're really focused more on what we saw at the at the expo. But they are the family entertainment center location of the year. And so this is they're about 35,000 square feet. FEC. They're based in Columbus, Ohio, and they won this on March 18th at Amusement Expo. They were opened in 2013 by two brothers. Their anchor attraction is bowling. And so you can see, an example of their lanes here, very, nicely done lanes. And, their focus is on serving families, adults, corporate users. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about Star Lanes. And then the other one is Arcade Time. They were named the best new arcade by, where is it? There we go. The best new arcade. And they have Cubica AMF's Flying Ducks Duck Pin Bowling in there. And this was, they won the best arcade at the 41st Annual Bowling Center Architecture and Design Awards. So while they are calling themselves an arcade, they do have the duck pin bowling available as well. And they also have crazy darts. And then their arcade is really a mix of like current modern arcade games as well as retro arcade games. And then they have a full restaurant and bar. It's a massive location. This particular location that won is the one based in Orlando, Florida, but they have 5 locations across Florida, and they have new venues. If you go to their website, I believe it's arcadetime.com, they have new locations opening in Nevada, Texas, Ohio, North Carolina, and Tennessee. So they're on like heavy duty expansion mode. I definitely will pop in and take a look at this location when I'm in Orlando the next time, but yeah, it is definitely they are growing, and they've clearly found a model that works well for them. All right, this last one that we're going to talk about is really interesting, and actually next week we're going to talk maybe a little bit more about it on Kevin Williams Open and Shut. But I wanted to get ahead of it because I really like fell in love with this. Like I have a love affair with this particular concept, and I cannot wait to go and check it out. This is a new competitive socializing environment or concept is opening in London on April 20th. So in just about a week and a half or 2 weeks away from now. And it's called Mr. Fogg's Games Parlor. And it will take place on the lower ground of Mr. Fogg's Tavern. So you have the tavern up above, you go down into the basement, and you have Mr. Fogg's Games Parlor. And it's about 5,000 square feet down below. And there is really cool things. So they have a bunch of different booths, and they can accommodate up to 8 players in each of these booths. And each of these booths actually have 6 different games during an 80-minute experience. So you pay for 80 minutes, you're playing these 6 different games, but the games have all been Victorianized. That includes darts, mini golf, beer pong, shuffle puck, bagatelle, and parlor quotes. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I should have maybe looked that up. But there'll also be a full bar serving beers, cocktails, and bar snacks. But one of the groups said for like hundreds of years, people have been playing games in public houses across the UK. She said, this is in his quote, so it only feels fitting that we found a way to revive traditional Victorian parlor games and combine them with more modern favorites in order to create a fitting selection of 21st century pub games. And he goes and he continues and he says, we've seen the rise in popularity of competitive socializing concepts over recent years and knew that if we entered the space, we would want to create something distinctly different. Absolutely the key. I will just go on a side tangent real quick. What we've been seeing are copycats. Say that 5 times fast. What you really need to do is find something that is unique. Find something that is going to be a concept that is innovative and different, and it's going to stand out from all of the other competitive socializing things going on right now. And they've done that. So I'll come back to his quote. We've spent nearly 24 months testing our unique gaming concept, and we're incredibly excited to be finally revealing it to our customers. This is true to the Victorian backstory. The experience is deliberately analog rather than digital. There's something wonderfully simplistic about marking your own score on a chalkboard. So I think there's a big opportunity. So anyway, like that is, it is analog. And so again, I'll expand here. You can see these things. So what I thought was really cool is I thought, okay, so are the guests moving from one experience to the next, like a mini golf course or whatever? No, they're not actually. Everything is in a particular booth. So you really have your space. And so it is a lot like the competitive socializing movement where, you're all hanging around a single space, but it's not just darts and it's not just shuffleboard and it's not just, a putt game like a, 501 or a social rivals, a game. All of them are in your booth and you're all taking turns and playing each of these different games and you're rotating through and you're each getting a chance to try something new and different. And one of you might be good at something, a different one, then one of you might be good at another. And it allows for that accessibility of competitive socializing that we talk about, that social entertainment. It's accessible because everybody can potentially suck at something or be really good at something. And you each have a chance to try it out and have fun. And anyway, the space looks amazing. It looks incredibly Victorian, which I absolutely love that aesthetic. And they've just done a really phenomenal job. And if you go to their website, they've done a great job too with videos of people like in Victorian style dress, having fun and playing around. And obviously you don't have to wear a Victorian style dress to go down there, but it is just a really cool feel and look and feel. And, I think one of the things I like about this is I'm a big fan of Victorian era. Not that I want to go back and live in that period of time, but I just, there's something about that, kind of that period of time. This is like the Charles Dickens era, right? The Oliver Twist era. So when Charles Dickens was really popular, so obviously the Christmas Story. And speaking of the Christmas Story, one of my favorite things to do is the Dickens Fair at the Cow Palace in south of San Francisco. So there's me and a good friend of mine, and there's a bartender behind the bar at an absinthe bar that we were at, and we were tasting absinthe and having some Sazeracs and everything else. And it's just a lot of fun, and everything is like very themed out. So even like the bookstores and everything else themed as this like Victorian era, very Christmassy. This is something I do every Christmas, go out there, visit my friend who's in the Bay Area, and then go and walk around and spend some time in here. So this is just saying that I think there is an opportunity to explore some of these eras of our past and see if there's ways that these themes can be delivered and deployed in a modern location-based entertainment venue. So that being said, that is some news you should know. Coming up after the break, we'll dive right into Open and Shut with Kevin Williams. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Hey, a big hello to the latest Open and Shut. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing great. Doing actually, pretty well. So yourself?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Enjoying the beginning of spring here in the UK. It's very nice.
I'm sure. All right. Well, let's dive into the latest openings.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot going on. The usual thing, pause as we zoom through these because we've got some to go through. So, jumping straight in, and why not look at Poland? And while we're talking about spring and all of that, why not have a facility called Arcade B? I quite like the logo. The website's quite nice. And it is the definition of what we've been seeing a lot of, the inclusion of a heavy level of competitive socializing with amusement, and rolling out now as a dedicated chain for the hospitality sector. So this is its 6th venue.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've actually done a great job, and there's a lot more going on here. I think the Arcade B is probably underselling what's available here. They've got everything from laser tag to table soccer, table football, karaoke rooms, puzzle rooms as well. So, some like adventure mission rooms, shuffleboard, racing sims. And then something interesting too, they have a slot machine tournament. So I'd be curious to know what's going on there. But then, great F&B component too. So anyway, this is great. I like their site. I like their overall feel. I'm kind of digging on these guys right now. I hope they continue to expand.
We're hoping they're on the watch list, put it that way.
Yeah.
Moving on, another one on our watch list, the Hub. This is quite a large, 60,000 square. And, for Oklahoma, not the most crowded market for location-based entertainment facilities of this kind of nature, but it is definitely, drawing a line in the sand. And this is the 2nd facility in the chain. So we're now seeing the momentum building up. And especially in the current marketplace, having your own dedicated brand of location-based entertainment at this level, you're not just the bowling, you've also got the cinema component, the cinetainment element, then you do hope to stand out from the rest.
Yeah, they look like they built a great facility. It is a standalone building they built from the ground up. But this is in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is a town of 40,000 to 50,000 people. So, this is not a significant. And there's not a lot around. The Oklahoma State University is there, so I think if anything, there's probably some college town-esque stuff happening here, and so that's probably what they're expecting, is to get a lot of parties and college events and things happening here.
I think the first facility they opened was also associated with a university in their area. But again, they are going for the EVO model of approach. Mm-hmm. Then we jump into our GIGO moment, or should I say our agenda moment. We will touch upon this a little bit more in sound off, but we welcome the first GIGO in China. Or should really this part of China, to be honest. I can swear from my database that we've talked about another GIGO that opened up in that territory. Either way, this is bringing over the proven Japanese entertainment model and dropping it in a new territory. I look forward to seeing how they're going to apply this in Vietnam and other areas of that region. Moving on and jumping to Japan. This one is still part of our agenda moment because it's a Dynamo amusement project. Dynamo is a Japanese operation that handles virtual reality experiences and attractions, and they drop them into location-based entertainments in that territory. And VR-based Tokyo had opened up previously near the tower, and now they've opened up a second operation under the VR Base Tokyo brand. This one at Tubo Zoo, which is a very popular tourist and visitor experience, an arena with a couple of ride-on VR experiences. Japan's still deeply in love with that technology.
Yeah, I think this is something that can fit nicely into something like a zoo or aquarium. I think this is the type of use case for this type of these types of VR attractions as augmented experiences within a larger, broader edutainment attraction or experience. We've seen this with dark rides, where dark ride pops in, or small amphitheaters with with cinema, and so this is a good fit into a zoo or aquarium or museum.
The Western equivalent of this would be our friends at iMotion with what they've done at zoos and aquariums. Again, sticking with Japan and the changing structure of their what I would call mid-scale entertainment facilities. These are the ones full of crane machines, claw machines. These are the ones with the sticker machines and a little bit of amusement. Soyu has about 55 facilities out there with their standardized Japanese approach, and this is their first of their game field locations, and it kind of seems to feel like an answer to the next generation. The arms race that Genda has engendered is now being revealed with the new look and feel that other more established operators are applying to their venues. Jumping on, and active entertainment continues to blossom. Flying Squirrel, we've talked about them before. They have about 18 facilities out there. And so they have Everett, Washington now gets a 50,000 square facility, quite a large site. It has the climbing walls, it has the trampoline, it even has some Valomotion technology dropped in there. But again, an example of not just a trampoline facility, but a trampoline facility with a serious entertainment punch.
Yeah, these they do their facilities really well, and I think what's interesting about Flying Squirrel is they have, I would say, almost proprietary trampoline technology, but it is resold through their Shock trampoline brand as well. So they share ownership between the two different groups. And they do a good job with their locations. They're vibrant and always well laid out.
This is kind of the example of, I always say about the vampire owning the blood bank, but, if you are an operator of the technology, then you are the best person to sell it, as it were. And this is their positioning on trampoline. Anyone that thinks that operating, installing, and designing a trampoline course is a trivial matter is going to be very unhappy if they try it themselves. And so being able to go to a proven facility, 18 facilities can't be wrong, is kind of the example. Same with laser tag, same with laser mazes. Sandbox, we've talked about this particular facility. I am now led to believe that they have moved from their secret location now into a permanent location. I'm depending on Brandon to get off his fanny and find out what their venue is like, because I have very limited information other than 4,000 square, and it may have some arenas and a VIP room.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, and now I'm kicking myself. I was just in that part of Gilbert yesterday, checking out a different location, and I should have been checking out Sandbox VR while I was out there too. But I'll have to do that for sure.
Thank you. Our friends at Launch, they have quite an accelerated rollout plan at the moment. It's hard to keep up. They have another 3 venues that are in the pipe. And this one, North Carolina Raleigh, I know it well, 30,000 square, follows the same kind of model, kind of what we've just been talking about with Flying Squirrels, dedicated trampolines, climbing walls, amusement, but they also have mini golf. They also have some mixed reality entertainment there. They also have a young kiddie component. So it's a much broader family entertainment zone rather than a trampoline facility, going by now the new branding or the established branding that is Launch Family Entertainment rather than Launch Trampoline Facilities.
Yeah. And I think the one difference here is the addition of bowling and some mini golf and a few additional attractions that Flying Squirrel still tries to stay pretty much in the active play space. Launch started in that active play space. In fact, they were a Gen 1 trampoline park brand originally, and they've since continued to add and evolve their attraction mix. And now, they've changed to the point where they're Launch Family Entertainment and not Launch Trampoline like they used to be.
And this you will see across many of the active entertainment facilities as they go from a singular attraction to a multiple attraction environment. Interesting one here. This could have been placed on the closes, but now it's on the openings. 8-Bit Arcade Bar, Illinois. Small retail unit that's been turned into a bar, sports bar kind of style, with a wide selection of amusement pieces. They closed down because they needed to expand their facility. They've expanded, they've improved the F&B offering, and they've rolled themselves back into the community, and we wish them a lot of luck.
Yeah, same. Good luck.
It's a crowded market, and let's hope their beer's cold. Now, our friends at Flight Club, they have been increasing their rollout of their competitive socializing darts environment. We were just at one of their facilities in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. They've now opened up another of their US offerings, now up to 27 international venues. I couldn't get much detail on the size of this site, but it follows a formula which they feel has proven itself in the US market. It is just now how long will that be able to stand the test of time as a competitive socializing venue with only one entertainment offering, as we've been touching on before.
Yeah, this is the reckoning. That is the reckoning that will be these early Gen 1 social entertainment venues.
And it's these Gen 1s that will be the canary in the coal mine to tell us. So we are all watching very closely the putt shacks and the flight clubs to see how their same site sales are doing towards being able to ascertain when they need to consider doing the pivot to multiple entertainment. And they will have to consider that. A little bit more in the attractions and experience side. We'll touch upon this also in Sound Off. The Infinity Experience facility at Montreal in Canada has already been open, but it is now installing a brand new attraction based upon the Netflix TV series Black Mirror. And this is a walk-round VR headset, virtual adventure kind of approach. And it is very interesting to see this kind of IP and this kind of presentation. I would place this in the Felix and Paul style of presentation. Not a million miles away from where Felix and Paul actually did have an installation, pop-up installation. But one to watch here because this will also be traveling to other cities in North America.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to talking more about it in Sound Off.
PopStrokes, we will also be touching on PopStrokes in Sound Off for a little bit of a different reason than just a brand new facility opening. But hey, we're up to 22 of their majoritively external or outdoor mini golf facilities. This latest one in Texas, quite a crowded market for them. This is what you get for $5.8 million. You get your 10 courses, you get your restaurant and bar component, and ample parking, I'm sure.
Yeah, this feels like a bigger PopStroke than maybe some other others, but yeah, I mean, I think primarily maybe because they have both indoor and outdoor mini golf courses, which is maybe one of the first locations that actually has indoor in addition to outdoor. Unless their F&B and entertainment is strictly what's indoors, because that's typically what PopStroke has been, and their mini golf courses have historically been outdoors.
I look at the model and I can't see where the indoor component is unless they're saying
big enough. Yeah, it doesn't look big enough unless they're mini golf bays.
Yeah, that corner bit where they've covered part of the green, maybe. But again, I would rather say that this seems to fit their traditional model of outdoor, and maybe that indoor was a mistype. And then continuing, and if you've got 10,000 square meters going spare, then you can create the ultimate active entertainment environment. This is very similar to the Ninja Warriors approach, where a television series that does a kind of game show activity entertainment experience has now turned itself into its own entertainment facility. Gladiators was a popular 1980s active, Running Man-esque kind of entertainment challenge. Now it has been turned into an entertainment facility. I don't believe this is a long-term entertainment facility. I get the feeling that they have leased this for a smaller window of time, installed it, going to operate it, and then it's going to be either moved to a new location or transferred. But again, it is competitors to all of your trampoline and FECs if you're in the catchment of this particular facility in Birmingham.
Wow. I mean, if this is truly a temporary installation, that's a significant temporary installation at 10,000 square meters. That's close to a little over 100,000 square feet.
Yes.
And some of the attractions can be dropped in, mounted to the floor, whatever. But as we talked about when we were discussing Flying Squirrel, installing trampolines and some of the other things that they have here are not insignificant to amount of construction to put in. But it is also a pretty significant brand name to be an IP to be leveraging for something that's going to be in one single location in Birmingham.
Birmingham has always been used as a test bed for location-based entertainment actives. The Bear Grylls active entertainment facility tested its metal in that location and was found wanting. It'll be interesting to see how the Gladiators experience does under the same harsh environment. And then finally, a weird one in the openings. It isn't an entertainment venue, though I'm sure many VR arcades would argue that it has entertainment components. Meta has decided to open their second Meta store. Their first one was opened on the Meta campus in California. Now they've moved to New York. It is a retail multi-floor area. It is a high-level showroom, but it does have a VR demonstration environment, which would look very similar to a VR arcade, colored any other way. And it will be interesting to see how much of the current changed perspective of Meta is that they turn this showroom more into a demonstration and maybe play environment to show off their technology. Now they're pivoting more towards a game-focused VR future. Just want to mark in your diaries, that's all.
I don't understand this at all. And I think I don't understand it strategically for Meta, given the fact that they've been pivoting further and further away from their VR products. That yes, they've got their glasses that they've been trying to do, but a 4-story location to showcase some AR glasses seems a bit of a stretch. So this one is seems to be like a strategic, hey, we just have a bunch of extra money. Let's grab a building, paint it blue in Fifth Avenue, and then make something here. I don't know.
It does feel like a willy waggle. It is, hey, they've got Apple stores, we better have our own stores. That kind of egotistical move by the Meta board is going to need to be reined in.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, agreed.
Shuts and sales, sad news, which we will touch on in a little bit more detail in Sound Off, the closing of the Control V chain. This was one of the first of the VR arcade operators that established a lot of the ground rules of how best to operate VR tethered entertainment in the tanning salon style of approach. They had their highs and they've had their lows. They went from 11 facilities after COVID. They dropped down to 5 or 6. Then they dropped down to 4. And as far as I understand, one venue is going to stay open, but now separate of the franchise, as the franchise operation and company are closing and moving on to other things.
Yeah, it's too bad, but I think this was, I think even when Control V came out, this was one that we questioned. when we first talked about this in opens.
We
One of their other locations. I know they've been open for a while, but I'm saying one of their other locations maybe.
We
that has
touched
opened.
upon the opening, the last opening of their facilities, which was funny enough in North America. In America, away from their natural Canadian rollout, and we raised an eyebrow of how long that would last. Well, under 12 months.
Yeah.
Andretti's. This is a difficult one because many people misread this. This is the original Andretti's outdoor karting facility or thrill park. This is owned by the team that is involved with the Andretti's indoor karting chain, but this particular Florida facility has been going for 27 years. It does look a little tired around the edges. It doesn't follow the same mantra as the Andretti's brand now is pushing forward with its over 10 facilities that they have dotted around. I would raise an interesting flag over the closure. The decision to get out of this site and then focus on their core business kinds of tells us where the Andretti's Entertainment board is focusing their energies as they look towards the next phase of growth in their operation.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, this is not surprising, just given the fact that they've expanded with their indoor model and their multi-floor, multi-level, high-speed karting model. That like supporting an outdoor karting course like just doesn't fall into the same realm from both the maintenance standpoint, from an equipment standpoint. So you can't standardize when you have this one outlier. And it probably got to the point where they saw the opportunity to redevelop this into, or sell the land to be redeveloped into something else. And they are going to take the cash and probably pour that into some additional locations.
Totally agree. It is an outlier that can be turned into some very valuable capital. The interaction amusement experience. Okay, got to say that carefully. Popped up on our radar. From the looks of it, when it first opened, it was a labor of love. It had a weird selection of interactive entertainment and amusement components. It was aimed more at the edutainment side of the coin than at the standard entertainment approach. From the design and the layout, it didn't really impart its message clearly. Personal opinion, if I was having to do an evaluation of it. Anyway, after a period of time, it is now announced that it is closing, and a little bit of an angry comment from the owners, sort of saying that local support received wasn't there when they needed it. If you can't elaborate what your entertainment experience is offering, then how can you expect your customers to support you? I hope this is a lesson learner, that they can take away all of this and then reapply their experience to a new facility.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you can't say that you didn't have public support when you had, out of 58 Google reviews, 5 stars. So clearly you had public there that did enjoy what you had, and there was potentially just a different issue with the business model, pricing, operating hours, staffing, costs of goods sold, etc. So there's many things that can cause a facility to go under, but it certainly wasn't for the lack of public love for what they were offering.
Try not to bite the hand that feeds you. Is a word of advice, especially if you're going to think about opening up a future facility. I haven't done the deep dive into their pricing model because I only do that usually when I'm being paid to do that. And I'm not going to burn the midnight oils doing the evaluation of what their entertainment price offering was compared to their competitors. But I will say this, that those number of high-star reviews kind of leads us to believe that they had some kind of following, but it wasn't retained. Anyway, moving to the close, LinkedIn, which has been busy at the moment. Please hit us up if you have any corrections, or if you'd like to point out that my pricing model speculation is totally wrong, or if there are some openings happening that have been missed from our radar. We have some stinger reports out, some new stinger reports. We will have a new entertainment social arena out, looking at the facilities we saw in Vegas. And as always, there's our email. Perfect.
All right, Kevin. Well, it was another great open and shut, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. Well, that was a great open and shut there with Kevin Williams. And coming up next, we have promo pro tips with Chuck DiMonte, where we're going to learn about how location-based entertainment brands can understand how they are winning. Let's get into it right now.
Hello and welcome to Promo Pro Tips with Chuck DiMonte. That is me. And today I'm going to cover a little bit more of a complex topic, somewhat, right? But honestly, it is really the way that location-based entertainment brands should be understanding if they're winning or not, okay? So too often, everybody's looking at vanity metrics. And what does that mean? You're looking at, your marketing, you're looking at clicks, impressions, cost, CPM, what is that stuff? You're even looking at your own revenue. Well, obviously that's important and that tells a story, right? What you're not looking at is your overall market, right? So what does that mean? You and your competitors, okay? So often we speak to clients, prospects, and they think they're down and maybe they are down revenue, or they think they should be doing more in revenue. And it's like, maybe 50% more, like they don't really know. And it's like, the problem with that is they don't understand what's possible. What is the market deem as possible, okay? Because if you have a market, and what that means is all the visits, like literal visits that are happening between you and all other competitors, okay? That's the size of your market. That's the size of your target audience that is doing these things out and about around you, right? And so how many of those are you getting? What is the size of your pie, okay? And there are times, as of recently, last couple of years, that pie is contracted. There's less visits to be had between you and all your competitors, okay? But let's say you had 50% of that pie, right? You're a big FEC, you got 50% of that pie. How much more can you grow, right? You have 50% of all the visits happening locally, right? Maybe you can grow more, maybe you cannot, but that is going to give you an indication of what's possible, what's not, okay? Now, we use this in a very, very, very complex way, okay? But what I want to try and do is distill this a little bit for you guys so that you could use it and just start thinking through the lens of what we call market capture. It's unbelievably important, again, because what could happen is your visits, your pie could shrink, right? The overall visits between you and your competitors could shrink. However, your slice of the pie could grow, right? So if the pie is shrinking, but you're getting more of that, it's super important. You want to make sure you're not losing market share, okay? And if you are losing market share, that's bad. So if the pie is shrinking and your size of your slice is shrinking, that's no good, right? You're losing in two ways, okay? So you always want to make sure that your slice is growing, okay? And so we do that. We look at individual areas. We go by the zip code and literally find high opportunity areas based on that type of information. It's way, way, way more complex. We'll bore you with that today. But, what's a couple of ways you could start thinking through this lens? First and foremost, okay, most location-based entertainment brands pull from a 20 to 30-minute drive time, depending on how, rural to urban you are, okay? So what I would do if I were you, I would map that 20, 30-minute drive time locally to me. What does that look like? What is 30 minutes out? And then map what are all the places that people could go to that are similar to what I own, operate, whatever, right? I want every single one of them. Is there 5? Is there 10? Is there 15? Is there 20? That alone will give you an idea of what the market share is, right? Or what the market size is. The more people, the more competitors in there, the denser most likely the market, the more visits that are available, okay? Because they're obviously all staying alive, they're all operating, they're all, hopefully producing some money at least, right? So there's enough visits to go around to keep you all fed, okay? So that alone will show you an understanding of how big the market is. More people means you probably got some more room to grow, okay? If you have very big name brands in your market, right? And a lot of them, a good indication of there's a dense market, okay? So first and foremost, I would map all of your competitors. Where are they? How far are they? Okay. The next thing I would do is I would go visit those competitors. I would see what I could see from the front, right? Go on a Saturday. How busy are they compared to you, right? On a weekend or whatever. Go see how busy they are compared to you. What is the experience? What does it look like? What do they offer? What's their price? All that stuff. See what you could see in terms of social media engagement. They're getting a ton of social media engagement. A huge one is Google reviews. Are they getting a ton of Google reviews? That would mean they're getting good or bad. That would mean they're getting a lot of traffic, right? If people are reviewing them often, right? So again, you could look at some things like that, Google reviews, visiting them, right? Social media posts and engagement, right? What are they doing for marketing? You could look at Meta Ad Library, right? You could literally see if they're running ads by using something called Meta Ad Library. So again, the biggest thing is how many people are out there, give you a size of indication of your market, okay? Then, going to those locations, seeing how they're doing, right? Just sort of visually, are they very busy? Are they busier than you are on a busy weekend or whenever your busy time of your day is, okay? Looking at digitally what they're doing and what you could sort of infer from that. Are they getting a lot of views frequently? That's a big one, okay? There's sometimes to say this place is usually, busy, or how busy it is, busier than usual, right? I'm sure you've all seen that on Google before. So all those things are important. It's going to start giving you an understanding of what is my market size? Who am I playing this game against, right? And how are they doing against me? Okay, so that's the second. So first step is map your competitors. Second, shop them and also do some analysis on them digitally, right? Third thing you want to look at are where your customers are coming from. Now, some of you might not be able to do this. Some of you might be able to do this, right? So again, if you map that 20, 30-minute drive time with some zip codes that are in that 20, 30-minute drive time, if you have a waiver system or a CRM that captures that zip code data, what you can start to do is now map that zip code data, okay? And what that allows you to do is see where you're getting most of your visits from, okay? Unfortunately, you're not going to see a full picture, which is something like we could give you, is also where your competitors are getting your visitors from. But you'll be able to see on a map, right? And you'll be able to see where you have less visits. Again, the one thing you won't be able to see is like how many visits are available in that market. There might be a lot of people coming from that zip code, but what you can do is pull population data and stats. Use AI. AI is your friend, right? So map these zip codes. You could do all this very quickly with AI. Say, hey, give me all the zip codes in a 20, 30-minute drive time of my zip code, right? Give me population statistics on all these zip codes, right? Find where there's a lot of population with what you think is your age range, demographic, and all that other stuff. Map the visitors you have, right, in your CRM, hopefully, to understand what your sort of your chart looks like in terms of where you're getting visitors from, and then see where you're potentially underperforming, right? And that is what's important. It's market capture. Are you capturing more of the market? And even more important, now market to those areas. If you feel like you're underperforming, market to it, and then measure it. Are your waivers increasing from that area? Now, we do this in a very super complex way. We acquire mobile location data to do this, and have a lot more layers in our model. So if you ever really want to see a true picture of your market, feel free to contact us. But that is the concept, and I promise you, it is the one and only way to measure performance as a location-based entertainment brand. Okay, because you only can grow in two ways: either your entire market grows, so there's more visits to be had, and you get a tailwind from that, right? But maybe your competitor is getting more of those visits. Right, so your market share would still be decreasing. So your pie is increasing, but more of that is going to the competitor, right? Or you gain more market share. It's the only way to grow. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Complete new way of looking at things. Most operators are not looking at it that way. All right, and again, if you ever want to see a full, snapshot of what your market looks like in those high opportunity areas, please reach out to us. We're happy to create what we call a visitor blueprint for you.
All right. Well, that was a great promo pro tips with Chuck Diamante. Thanks so much, Chuck, for putting that together. And look, we got Sound Off number 116 with Kevin Williams coming out on this Tuesday in 2 days, April 7th. And look, I hope if you're listening to this today, I hope you're having a great Easter. Hope you're having a great time with family and friends and enjoying your time looking for eggs and doing all the other stuff that you do on Easter. So anyway, that is a wrap for this week's LBX show. This is Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.